Warning: the following content contains language that may be inappropriate for younger viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Welcome to the Let's Get Heavy podcast, your exclusive backstage pass to the realm of heavy music. Join us as we engage in conversations with amazing musicians from across the metalverse. I'm your host, Stevie, and this episode I'm chatting with Jen from Defenestration. So let's get heavy. Well, Jennifer, I want to welcome you to the Let's Get Heavy podcast, where we like to highlight bands and try and spread a little bit of positivity throughout the metalverse. And my name's Stevie from Get Heavy UK. And I want to, again, welcome you to the podcast. And am I saying the band name correctly, first of all? Defenestration.
Yes. I think for your accent, that's it. I think some people call it defenestration. But yeah, defenestration's fine.
Defenestration, no worries. Yeah,
Either way,
the northern accent, yeah. But it's been a while since you've been away because you've disappeared for a little bit, and you've come back after what, 4.5, 5 years? Was there a specific catalyst, or was there a gradual realization when you returned?
Well, it was actually 20 years. So, yes.
Well, that's how long the band's been going, but you kind of had a hiatus in 2020.
No, we weren't going. I think we split up in 2004.
Oh, right.
Yes, and then reformed in 2024. So we had a 20-year hiatus. So
quite a bit of a hiatus, and I got my information totally incorrect. See, I was judging off some releases on Spotify. Well, you must have uploaded the Spotify albums at a later date.
Oh yes, that's what happened. I think what's happened is the record label, well, one record label that used to have the first and second albums, they've been taken, like, our albums have gone over to a different record label which is connected to them, and I think they then uploaded stuff because obviously back 20 years ago didn't have those things. So
valid point. Yeah, Spotify was, I think Spotify was around, but I think it was like invite only sort of thing. It wasn't like what it is today. So yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, what was a specific catalyst that made you want to come back?
Well, it was all about Russ Russell, who a very metal producer that I think people have heard of. So he produced our first album, and he's like hails from the same town, Kettering, that we were from, and is a good friend of all of us. And he's been really poorly, had cancer, and he's not been.
Hope he gets well soon.
Yeah, and he hadn't been able to work for a long time, and people started like rallying together, doing some gigs to help support him and his family. And it seemed like that was probably initially the only thing that probably would have got me to like dust off the vocal cords, I think. So yeah, the bass player Scott sort of got in touch and said, "Oh, that people are doing this. Do you want to do a reunion show?" And I was like, yeah, if it's for him, I'll do it. But then it was actually kind of loads of fun. So we thought, we'll do another one. And we gave the money to him. And then we just carried on. So, yeah.
Mad respect for doing that. That is amazing. See, it's another reason why I love the metal community, for stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So that's mad. That's mint. Awesome. Thank you. That's just brilliant for doing that. Hats off to you. I would take my hat off actually to you, but you'll probably get blind by the shine on my head. So, but yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Great to hear. So, but after the hiatus, well, first on that first show, before we get into the next, on that, how was it for the voice?
Well, that was the thing. I think because like after Defense split up like 20 years ago, or nearly 21 years ago, it was was in bands after that, but mainly like punk bands. So I
Hmm.
did do a bit of shouting, but not to the level that I did with Defen. So sorry, we refer to ourselves as Defen, bit of a
That's
mouthful,
fine. That's fine.
Defenestration. So,
It can be, yes.
so yeah, so I did completely freak out at the thought of like, how am I going to do that? Because I haven't even performed for about 10 years on stage or been in a band. So for me, like it was going from being very gently voiced in my gentle voice job. I'm a psychotherapist and being a mum to a young child to going back into that angsty shout thing. So luckily we've got lots of people doing things on YouTube now, tutorials, and I just kind of was like, okay, yeah, I think I remember how to do it, and then surprised myself. We went in the practice room, and I was like, oh, it's still there then, because I was convinced it wasn't going to be. And then, yeah, I mean,
It's
it
like
was,
riding a bike, you just never forget.
yeah, it was like that. I mean, it did definitely take its toll on my physical, like, recovery time. It's probably not as quick. I just can't, I don't think it's going to be like, well, I physically can't do 100 and something gigs in a year like we did back in 2001. But yeah, like we did do 2 gigs back to back recently, and I managed to get through that, even though I had like a couple of days of
Yeah.
afterwards.
That's brilliant. How was the nerves? Because it must have been nerve-wracking getting on stage for the first time in 10 years.
Massively. I mean, to be fair, like every single gig I've ever done, I've always been nervous anyway. So this was like extra nerves. But then on the other hand, now I've worked in mental health for like 17 years. I'm a psychotherapist and stuff. I know techniques to help calm myself. But yeah, I know techniques, but I was very nervous.
Wow, that's amazing. Even more hats off to you, because we're big mental health advocates here at Get Heavy UK. So that is truly amazing. My wife is an RMN, registered mental health nurse. So
Oh,
I think
fantastic.
you two will get on like a house on fire.
Excellent.
So after the hiatus, how has the band's dynamic changed, if at all?
Um, well, funnily enough, um, about 3 years before Defen had a reunion, me and the last drummer had a reunion of our own, and we're now married.
Oh
So,
wow, so
so
cool.
like the dynamics changed in that way because that wasn't a thing before. Um, but not really. Like I think the thing that was weird about getting back in the rehearsal space was the fact it wasn't weird. Um, because yeah, that was the weirdest thing about it. It was like the dynamic was similar. We still all kind of took the mickey out of the one guitarist. It's always him that gets it, bless him.
Oh, it's a guitarist this time round. Wow. See,
Yeah.
normally it's a bass player.
Oh no, the bass player's like no, he joins in with the
That's quite a change. It's like I say, going off past interviews, it's always been the bass player who's been the butt
yeah,
of all
no.
jokes. It's nice to see. It's nice to see change once in a while. Guitar is getting some jip. So
But
is the original lineup returned, has it?
so yes, so the original lineup that we had 4 drummers in our time.
Hmm.
So it's but for the second album and the third album that which was a mini album, the drummer who drummed on them, it's with him. So it's the last drummer we had, drummer number 4, my husband.
Oh. So who is the what? Because I don't know the full lineup. So what's the other members' names?
So do you want full names or just his?
Just yeah.
Okay,
We'll
so
just go
we've
with, I
got
don't want to dox anybody, so we'll just go with
yeah.
the first names.
So we've got Jay and Rob on guitars,
Mhm.
and Scott on bass, and then Kieran on drums. So it is 2000 from about 2002-ish, I think, the lineup from then. So
Excellent. Well, hello to those guys if they're watching this back later on. So, have you found yourselves approaching music differently after being away so long?
I
Or did you
yeah, I
basically, as soon
mean,
as you got in the studio, did you just pick up right where you left off?
yeah, I think, I mean, obviously we all went in our different directions musically. So I think as we've started putting some ideas together for new things, new
Hmm.
songs, and that's obviously probably going to be quite different to before or grown. But then having said that, some of the riffs, I think maybe like the guitarists have just had them like in the closet thinking, oh, that's a maybe if Defen ever reunite riff, it won't fit with my whatever I'm doing now, sort of thing. So they do sound kind of like they fit, but like older.
Hmm.
I think, and I can't remember what the question was. Sorry. This.
It was like, have you found yourselves approaching music differently after such a long
Yes,
hiatus?
yes, I think, yeah, I think it's obviously a different priority. Some of us have got kids and things. So we don't all live in the same town anymore, so getting together is more of a challenge. But like I think musically things have changed. When we went and we started playing the old stuff, um, I think even though I felt very rusty, I think the guitarist and the bass player who've been playing in bands a lot, actually sort of found it quite freeing to be able to play that dirty, heavy stuff again.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I think it has changed, but also it hasn't in a way. And I think that nostalgia thing's like a big thing in metal at the moment.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm not
yeah.
going to lie. I absolutely love nostalgia. It's anything that takes me back to my younger days because I'm nearly 40 now. So it's anything that takes us back to them teens, especially in the new metal era, because I grew up on Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit. Anything that takes me back to that sort of vibe, I absolutely dig straight away.
Yeah, because I keep seeing all these bands like coming out and then again, and it's just like, what is, it must, because it's like around 20 years, I guess people have just gone, like let's do it again. Because obviously Linkin Park carried on, but like
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of these bands sort of did stop at some point. I don't
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
remember when at various different points, but yeah, it does seem like
I
there's a
mean,
lot of like peers as well, in British metal as well. Like we noticed Earth Tone 9 and people like starting to get together again. And so, yeah, it's going to be weirdly like the old days.
yeah, I feel COVID had a lot to deal with that to do, like because obviously a lot of people were getting bored. Musicians would pick up instruments again that they might not have picked up for quite some time because there's not much you can do, is there? You can't leave your house, unless it's for for shopping or exercise. So a lot of people would turn to either video games or the old school musicians would turn back to music.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
that's another thing. I mean, I always think that creativity comes out of adversity.
hmm,
So I think COVID, it did open, I suppose, like open the doors for communication like this more as well, I think. Because I used to have to take a train down to London and meet with various different people from magazines back in the day and
hmm.
spend a whole day doing it or do it over the phone, but not getting that sort of face to face thing. And that's obviously changed a lot and like even through COVID, like now we can actually connect a bit better and a bit easier. And yeah, I do think you're right, actually, thinking about it, people were bored and not able to work sometimes and pick up their
Yeah.
instruments and go, oh, play that again. And I suppose as well, I've noticed the fashion starting to go towards the old new metal thing, people wearing the big baggy trousers and soaking up like half the rain off the pavements, all the way halfway up the legs.
I also run like a Twitch stream as well, where we just like, watch along with music videos. We did a new metal night, so I had to try and find like the old school black flame shirt, the old ball chokers that you used to wear as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
the barbed wire bangles and everything. I went full whack with it.
No, you've got to
Just
do it. You've got to do it,
take
definitely.
us took us back to my youth. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Um, but yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. So for those who may be new to the band, especially like a younger generation, what if in your own words, how would you describe your sound?
Wow. So it's kind of, I guess we had like a sludgy, stoner rocky kind of edge to us. Depending on which album you listen to. Um, I think the first album's probably more new metal-y, has quite a lot of effects going on. The second album's more a little bit hardcore and punky, which is why I like it a bit more because that's like my vibe, I think. Um, and then yeah, I think there's like melodic parts. Um, some of it's influenced by like 70s stuff. Some of it's more like the we call them sausage riffs because they're sausage fingers. And it's like they're just like power chords played really down tuned. So that new metal thing going on. And then yeah, there was with the singing, I think that's probably what made us I want to say like I want to try and say something more positive, but like kind of a novelty. We were a novelty because we had um a, a singer, a girl singer, me, that was singing in I've got a slightly lower voice now for singing, but I did have quite a high singing voice, a girly singing voice, and then that really, really deep shout thing, which people just couldn't play, they couldn't understand. But so yeah, I think there's a mix of a lot of things, but we did get plugged into the new metal thing because of the time it was and some of our influences, but also we do have a little bit of hardcore coming in and a little bit of stoner rocky things going on. So
Nice. So, who would be your key influences for your vocals? Who
oh well,
made
I
you
guess
want to pursue singing, would you say?
yeah. Oh well, I think I mean I love punk. One of the reasons I enjoy punk so much and enjoyed being in punk bands after Defan was because there's always been girls in punk and no one cares. And actually, like, even though I know there are more girls in metal bands now, and that's amazing, and I'm so happy that that is the case. Back in those days, 20 odd years ago, it really wasn't that it was really even more male dominated. And so
Couldn't agree more. It was very rare when you seen
yeah,
it.
so
Arch
it
Enemy
was
was probably
very
the only one that could really come to mind.
yeah, I mean there was Sugar Coma um, and Kitty around in our
Yeah,
day.
all female there, which is when I heard their announcement of coming back, I was buzzing.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like there really wasn't many of us. So influence in terms of metal singers, like I think the first time I ever just shouted was actually when I was about 15, 16, I think 16, playing in this little hall, playing covers, and we did a Deftones cover, Bored,
Nice.
and it's like singy all the way through, and then there's that shout at the end, and that was the first time I ever made that noise. Because I was like, what am I going to
Nice.
do? Like it's singing this thing. Oh, I'm just going to do it, and it just happened. Um, so I guess I would say Chino is an influence for that reason. But
Massive.
but
He's an
yeah,
absolute. Mm.
but then like icon wise, Skin from Skunk and Nancy. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like just in awe of her, and I always have been. Um, so yeah, I think because she's such a powerful presence, and and yeah, Chino because he does have very like soft, singy, and then the shouty bits as well was probably an influence. Yeah, so I think they're probably my two from back then. Yeah.
So back then, did you feel? Because you touched on before, there wasn't many female vocals. Did you feel as if that drove you to pursue more and push further to get these boundaries changed?
Yeah, I think it was a lot for I mean I was only sort of in like my late teens, very early 20s. So I think I did have that drive, but it did feel very, very challenging. And there was there was a lot of sort of misogyny and assumptions about girls who even hung around in those crowds, unfortunately. And that really did make me feel so sort of like I was up against it. And yes, I am a very stubborn person. And if someone puts something in, like an obstacle in the way of me, then I'm like, nope, I'm doing this kind of thing. So yes, it did drive me. But like, I do think what I know now as a fully grown woman, I just love, I'd love to be able to put that message out there even more, to be honest. Like now I really understand it more. Feel like I want to nurture like a mum. I want to like mother a load of a whole new generation of girl metal singers and go, come on, let's do this.
That's brilliant, and more power to you. More power to you. Do you feel that's still around today? Because I'd imagine even though you've been out the scene, you'll still have been going to gigs, etc. I would imagine. Do you still kind of
Yeah.
feel that's around?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't been to many metal gigs in the last, because I mean, like becoming a like mum and being all sort of boring and grown up. And then when I was going to gigs, it was more like punk gigs and stuff. And like
Hmm.
I said, that's always been a bit more equal and accepting.
Good, good.
Um, well, the punk circles I went in were very like accepting. Like there was obviously some punks, very narrow few that not so much, but like
There's
um
always that one person, isn't there? Unfortunately, in
yeah,
any group,
yeah.
there's always one person who's got to spoil it for everybody.
Mm.
Um, so
So
yeah,
yeah,
but
I don't know. I have like kind of done a little bit of research since being back in Defenestration and stuff and saw that there are like um more female, there's much more of a female presence out there, but I do think it's still very male dominated. And I do hope, and I do think as well, like from the gigs that we've done, I've noticed that I think one of the most loveliest things for me is when, because I live in Northampton now, which is a little way from where we were based originally, and not very far, like 20 odd miles. Our second gig we did in Northampton, and it's very much my hometown because I pretty much moved here straight after the band split up. And we played a gig, and there was a lot of people from who were fans back in the day there. There were some new fans as well, interestingly. But I loved it because there was so many girls in the front, like right at the front, and I just kept saying, "Oh, it's so lovely," because it's like all these girls, and I knew a lot of them, but it was just really nice to have that female like thing there at the front. And yes, because they're all older and stronger and ready to fight off men as well if they need to. So yeah, I think I'm hoping things have changed. I think there's probably still a lot of work to do because it is still very male dominated. But I do think like in general, I would feel so much safer in within a metal crowd than I would in like a pop gig or something because I just think they're just better people, really.
yeah, I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with that. I do feel it's um, more inclusive for everyone now, which is what we should have been from the beginning, in my opinion.
I hope
Um,
so. That's good. That
mhm.
that makes me happy.
And I'm glad to see more here in the UK as well. More female bands are coming through. To name a few, you've got Moon Reaper, who's got a female fronted Sister Shotgun, all female group Dying Addiction from Wolverhampton. So there is more coming through, and they are fighting the good fight and putting all that and making sure everyone is equal at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, we're all one, regardless of what sex or whatever walk of life we take. I've said this quite a few times. We're all metalheads at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
We're all metalheads, and the way I see it, it's just one big massive family, and it's not just across the UK; it's worldwide.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know what I mean? So, yeah. But back on to the band. So So what are your immediate plans for Defend? Are we talking some new music, tours, or a bit of a combination of both?
Well, we've started re-recording some of the second and third album songs purely because we're not really happy with the way they were produced, and we want to sort of do our now take on them. We're leaving the first album as it is, purely again because it was kind of our debut, and that was the one that rusted. And yes, it's very of its time, but we want to leave it like it is and keep it that way and just move on with the others. And then also we've started the process of writing some new songs, which we'll be recording. And that the technology's completely changed as well for that. So that makes it a lot easier and cheaper than it was back in the day.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that ourselves more. Um, and then we are not looking at extensive touring like we used to. And we were like basically spent most of our life in the back of a transit van up and down the UK back in those days. And we have jobs and children, some of us, and um, so we can't really do that. And I don't think actually that's what bands do anymore. So I've
Hmm.
heard. I'm very out of touch. But
No, you'd be
apparently now
surprised.
is,
A lot of bands still
yeah.
tour,
Oh
but
yeah, I
they'll do
knew.
it over case or like over a period of like a weekend. So they'll do like three shows back to back, but in like different
Yeah.
locations.
Yeah, so that's probably more like what we'll be doing. And then some like odd gigs here and there, and see what happens really. I know that there's a lot more emphasis on social media and things. So watch out for the TikTok dances.
Yeah.
Because that's apparently
Well,
what we do now. We don't tour like we don't do toilet tours. We do TikTok dances.
yeah. Well, that's what's going to be happening in DFN. I'll have to subscribe and just so get to
Oh,
watch them funny little clips.
oh gosh,
But
yeah.
did you ever grace Newcastle back in the day?
Yes. Like is it Trillions? Is that it?
That's the weird place, yeah. Trillions.
It's so weird because like whenever, like ever since being in defense, if anyone ever says a town or a city name, I always like hear the venue in my head afterwards after they've said it. So yes, we Trillions. I think we play the university as well, actually. Can't
Hmm.
remember when.
The
So yeah.
university is that Newcastle or Northumbria?
Ooh, I don't know. It was
No.
just yeah. I'm not.
Can you remember much on the venue?
Our bass player was the one that like literally listed all the gigs. Like I'm just like it's all a bit hazy, but I remember the names of some of them. So
That's
yeah.
fair enough. But yeah, Trillions is probably one of the most well-known
Is it
for
still
like
there?
still there, still going strong.
That was
Still
good.
going strong for so many years. I've
Fantastic.
been going for many years. It's still running gigs from time to time. It's where we do our Metal to the Masses, if you're familiar with the Bloodstock Metal to the Masses.
Yes. Oh wow.
Um, so
Fantastic.
yeah, that's it's absolutely brilliant. Great little venue.
Yes, it is definitely, and that's why it's stuck in my head, obviously. And
No,
I'm glad it's still going.
hopefully then, when if you ever grace or start touring again, maybe you can come and grace the Newcastle again. It'd be brilliant.
Oh, that would be lovely.
So the music landscape has shifted dramatically since your last album. How do you see Defend fitting into the modern scene?
Ooh, I don't know. I think maybe the fact that there's been a bit of a resurgence of the 20 odd year ago like new metal thing means that we kind of fit in because we're part of that maybe. Because things do have a habit of like, you know, turning up again and so yeah, I'm not sure like how. But then sometimes I hear like new bands and I think, oh, that just sounds like so and so from 1990 something. So actually, like, it's just like
It's not
actually
just me
like
that does that.
no.
Yeah, I do that quite a bit, especially with I can't remember the bad name now. It's going to do my head in that. Just when it just goes. It's
Yeah.
one of them moments. It'll pop back, no doubt, no doubt. But looking ahead, what do you see the long-term goals for the band? Do you what do you hope to achieve this time round?
I think it's a difficult one because, it's not sort of like well, it's not my career. Like my career is very much in my business and my mental health thing that I'm doing. But I feel like it's kind of empowering for us to be able to take back, the rights to our things that we're taking because, you know, as well, I think in the way that things have changed in the music industry now, you don't have to rely on record labels in the same way. And when we had, when we relied on those record labels, we ended up kind of giving up the rights to those recordings. Well, we don't own them. They're not our recordings. Then there are songs, but they're not our recordings. And we don't, they're out there. And like you said, they've just been put up not like a few years ago um, on Spotify and stuff. So people are still, and they're still selling them as well. But, we don't get anything from that. So one thing was like, just taking that back, taking ownership of that, which is why we're re-recording some of those things. We, I think we haven't like really thought about long term. It's just let's see how it goes. And it's nice to be able to be back doing it again
And just
and
have fun with it.
have fun. Yeah, because I think that's something that what, like I said, I always get nervous anyway. Like even if I've got that attitude, it's still very important to me. But I think back then there was quite a lot of pressure on a bunch of young people. I used to dread London gigs because there'd be like this magazine and that magazine, and I used to be like, not only would I be like worried about what they were going to say in those magazines, I was also worried about the fact that they would always get like the worst picture of me, like with veins popping out of my head and like this, and then probably comment on my looks as well because I was a girl, and obviously, I you can do that if you're a boy, but not a girl, and like yeah, so I think I would used to get so like oh about that, whereas now I think I'm just like I don't really care what you think, I'm just doing it for me now, and we're just doing it for us, and we're having fun with it, and I think yeah, as far as long-term goals are, we will look at releasing things, but that might be off our own backs rather than through record labels.
Yeah, I feel because there's quite a lot of publications around there now, but they're more fan driven as
Yeah,
opposed of like the business side of it. Do you know what I mean? Um,
yeah.
ours included. It's simply I'm happy to admit I've got no journalism background
Mm.
in doing this. It's simply from a fan's perspective. I'm a fan of the music. At the end of the day, I've loved metal since the day, as long as I can remember. Do you know what I mean? And it's just always been my way of giving something back to a community that has just supported me mentally, emotionally for years. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I feel now it's more fan driven as opposed to like business sides or people who are actually journalists sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, and those fans that were fans then are now grown up and are still fans and can actually have a voice and can shape these things and influence these things. And back in those days, the best journalists, the ones that I remember, the best journalists were the ones that were just so they were just fans that had managed to get a journalist job. Like there was like I'm not going to name names, but there was like certain editors of certain magazines that were just like, you're just doing this out of vanity, or you're not like really that into it. But then, but then there was like the odd like journalists that were just big fans of metal and really loved it, and they were the best ones.
Some of them just seen it as a paycheck,
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think you could
pretty
tell
much.
the difference. Um, when I used to talk to them, and I could tell the difference if I like saw them at events and things. So yeah, I think I'm happy that it's more fan driven because the fans have all grown up and they know what they want, and they know probably more about it all than any of those paycheck type journalists.
Especially the underground scene, because that is where the majority of the fans hang out now. You go to
Yeah,
your local shows now. Local shows are booming at the minute.
that's fantastic. So good to hear because I've got lots of friends who are in bands, particularly punk bands, but other metal bands and stuff as well. And COVID was obviously an absolute shit show for venues, all that money that like all the money lost, not being able to do things, and it was just
Closing
awful.
down,
Like
etc. So
I was so concerned that those kind of venues and those scenes would just die off. And it's so good to hear that it's like not doing that because that's where we were from really. I mean, I think, sometimes it surprises me that people have this perception or there's people from Japan or Australia or America that have heard of us when we were just an underground UK metal band at the end of the day. And we did play the odd big gig like at Tatty the Planet and things like that. But that was like a complete like we were like playing on the back of a truck in a park the next week. So I think we actually genuinely were as well. Yeah. So it's like it was like that was like the unusual parts of it. But we were mostly an underground UK metal band, and that's
yeah,
like where the heart and soul is really, isn't it?
it is. Couldn't agree more. And I mean, I can't speak for anywhere else, but here in Newcastle, it is absolutely booming, banging to see.
That's great.
What small venues are thriving. Our small local bands are thriving. Do you know what I mean? So, I hope it's the same in other areas as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think in Northampton, it's we've got
well,
like
one of our good friends' bands is based in Northampton, Cerebral Scar. I'm not sure if you're aware
oh
of them.
yes, I'm aware of them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they act because we also run a small independent festival here in Gateshead, and
Okay.
they played our debut show back at our debut festival in 2023.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
really good lads, Cerebral Scar.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, like we do have like a couple of good venues in Northampton, and that does seem to be picking up again, and the ones that,
Good, good.
survived COVID. And then we've got like a slightly bigger one, but they've just been a bit pants at getting like good bands on, to be honest.
Really,
But not always, but often.
maybe it's too expensive to hire. Maybe do you think?
Yeah, I think it's probably, yeah, more about the money.
And costs, yeah.
I think they
It's
get
always
more,
it.
yeah, I think they get more money from like just having DJs there and stuff.
Yeah, it's a
So
shame.
yeah. But
It's a
yeah, there
shame.
is like, I mean, the Black Prince where we played our second gig back, and then we played there with Speedhorn, Raging Speedhorn as well. That's like a really good little but really cool venue, which used to be the racehorse, and I played there so many times with various bands. When it was so yeah, I'm glad that's still going because that's probably one of the best I'd say in
I'm
Northampton.
glad you mentioned Raging Speedhorn then because that kind of gives me a nice little segue into my next question. You've toured with some absolutely legendary bands.
Yes,
To name a few, Raging Speedhorn being one of them, Megadeth, Napalm Death, and Therapy.
yes.
What are some of the most memorable experiences or lessons you've learned from those tours?
Wow. So we went on. So we were support band for Raging Speedhorn on their first album tour. So when they were touring that first album, we went out with them, and we were but babes at the time. So yeah, so yeah, that was like again quite hazy, but that must have been back in 2000 maybe even like oh yeah. Um, And then I'm trying to think. So the Napalm Death tour was in, and that was because we had the same management and same record label at the time. and we shared a tour bus with them for that reason as well.
Wow.
And I must say, as far as like misogynists and stuff, they were absolutely wonderful and very respectful of the fact that I was the only girl on the bus. I'm just saying, just now they're not it's not all men, and I don't like that as a saying, but in that case, no, I felt very safe. They were a lovely bunch, and I felt very looked after, and they were very respectful. So it was nice to share a tour bus with them. Great guys. I was like, I'm sure they won't mind me saying this. I was like helping them brush out the tangles in their hair, and I think like after the gigs, because like I think they liked having a female presence.
That's absolutely brilliant. Kind of like a mother figure sort of thing.
Oh yeah, even back then I was kind of mummy. So yeah, it was that was really fun, and you obviously learn a lot from a band like Napalm because they have just at that point had been doing it so long. And for them
playing Newcastle soon, so
oh yeah, oh fantastic.
still
And
on tour, still going strong as well. So
yes, amazing, and a really lovely bunch. And Therapy tour, that was like our first European tour and our only real European tour. I think we headed out there a couple of times, but the actual tour. So Therapy have taken lots of UK bands out on their first European tour. And I think they actually said to our manager, like, we as a band had it the hardest. We were in like this beat up old Winnebago tour in the middle of winter. But we also complained the least out of all the bands that took out, which is nice. But
that was their compliment.
yes, and they again absolutely wonderful. All of them, their crew, everyone was just absolutely. They looked after us so well. They really did.
Absolutely amazing to hear. That absolutely amazing to hear.
Yeah.
And what about Megadeth?
Oh, Megadeth. That was just very strange. I'm not saying anything against them at all. It was just really like because we were all obsessed with the film Spinal Tap, and it was like it was a little bit Spinal Tap the way they were like like you're not allowed to you weren't allowed to smoke in anywhere backstage before because of Dave Mustaine and his vocals and things, and it was all like a little bit sort of odd. It was just a bit strange. But I think the weirdest thing was it was really difficult for us because the crowd were not very accepting of us either. Because they
Flash crowd can be quite difficult to win over, can't they?
And that was like probably the biggest lesson I got from that was just to like ignore the fact I'm getting stuff thrown at me and just go, well, I'm not going anywhere. So
wow, really? That was happening? People throwing stuff at you?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Jesus.
But it was like I think I like it again, it's that obstacle thing, like something in my brain just goes, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stay up here just because it's annoying you. So I just carried on. I think I even said like, well, you can throw stuff if you want, but we're still going to be playing and you're still going to have to listen to us. And I was like laughing and nothing hit me. I was like pretty nifty, like dodging everything. But that was the kind of respect.
Still, you shouldn't have had to. You shouldn't have had to deal with that.
I know.
You could have picked it up and threw it back at them. How do you like it?
No, I mean, I kind of found it quite amusing, and also like just kind of because I think I had to get quite a thick skin for for like a young like woman. I had to get quite a thick skin because there was like I said, I was my appearance, the way I looked was commented on in ways that never they'd have done for if I was male, and and I had to get quite a thick skin. So like having things like that, I mean, I understood where they were coming from. They were all, no, we don't want to listen to this nonsense. It's new stuff. But that's a them problem after all. And we were there and there was people there there was somebody who like came and found us after the gig who literally paid full price Megadeth ticket to just see us and then left. And then we found them outside and they were just like, oh my God, and can you sign this? And then we just gave them loads of merch and was like, oh, thank you, because we felt guilty because they'd paid all that money. But yeah, so like I think we were just there, and that were the first bigger gigs that we'd played as well. So we needed to kind of like withstand that, I think.
That's a mad respect again, because
Toughened us up.
it could have been easily, you could have easily, to remain professional as well, you could have easily just snapped, picked something up and threw it back at them. Do you know what I mean? A lot of
Yeah.
cases, probably some people probably would, but
Yeah, I
respect
think
for maintaining that professionalism.
I think like I think because of the way my brain works is like I wouldn't do that purely because I'm such a bad shot. I'd probably hit someone nice. I don't want to do that. So
I mean,
I was just like, it's like,
I understand that fans are passionate. Do you know what I mean? I really do get it. But if you've got nothing nice to say, say nothing at all. Walk away. Go to the
mm,
bar. Go outside for a cigarette or chill. Do you know what I mean? If it's too cold outside, stand at the back out the way. But be respectful. Stop.
yeah.
This is one of the things that I've disliked is elitism. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like also like
for
a
everyone
mass
at the end of the day.
hysteria. The fact there was so many people there, they felt that that was something they could do. And again, like I think something in me was just thinking, no, I'm not going to let them shut me up.
Good, good. I'm pleased. I'm glad you kept going and you fought through it and proved the elitists. I've got other words that I'd like to say, but that I like to call them, but you proved all the elitists wrong. You're still doing this now, so yeah, yeah, more respect to you. But what are you most excited about this new chapter of Defense?
I think from a personal point of view, I think it's been a bit of a like like an emotional roller coaster for me. So obviously I said I was trained. I'm an art psychotherapist. So as part of your training, when you learn to be a psychotherapist, you have to have psychotherapy as part of your training. So
Oh, good.
I've like come a long way mentally. And I think coming back to the band and looking at my lyrics that I wrote when I was like a traumatized young adult, um, and like analyzing them as if I'm being my own therapist, I suppose. It's been quite emotional for me. So for me, I feel like I can, with the new stuff, I can write like my story now, and it's a lot different. And I feel like because I am passionate about mental health and stuff as well, because of my business and my job, I think that gives me a chance to then sort of show that progression in me and even talk about it. So it's like a platform to help people. And also I think as from music point of view, I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could still do it, even though I'm a 42-year-old mom now. And
Hang on,
and I
what's the
just
secret here? 42. You
yeah,
still look like early 30s.
oh thank you.
What's the secret?
Must
Here's
be
me
this
nearly
Zoom.
40. Ah, is that what it is? You're cheating with the hair dye. I'm nearly 40 and I've got more grey hair. Yeah.
I might have grey hair, but I never let it have a chance to look at like come through. So it might be there, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
so
that's absolutely brilliant.
yeah, so I think for me that's like from a personal point of view for me, but I think as a band as well, part of it is proving that we can still do it for ourselves. Um, I think there is an element of nostalgia for some of them, like, oh, that was such a good time, I want to revisit it. And also that sort of getting our songs back because they're ours. Even if it means we're playing them live, we're re-recording them and stuff, just having that back for us and then like maybe sort of writing another chapter to that story that we left behind quite abruptly actually. So yeah. Hmm.
Excellent. Well, I, for one, am over the moon to hear that you're back.
Thank you.
And this part of the interview, it got a couple of random questions. Like I wouldn't really say quick fire because some of them tend to venture off into some other conversations. But yeah. So the Newcastle and Get Heavy community will absolutely kick my ass if I don't ask, what is your Greg's order?
My Greg's order. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. See, this would be like super boring because I can't have gluten.
Oh, right, fair enough.
So it'd probably be a Diet Coke.
Just a Diet Coke. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
If if I was able to eat gluten, I would love to have one of those slices with beans in it.
Mm. Oh,
Is it?
cheese and bean melt.
Yes, that. And do you know what? And this is like the awful thing, like because I've not been able to eat gluten for so long, I've never been able to have one of those. So,
Oh, never get to experience a
so much
cheese.
about Grace that I'm just like, oh, I'd love to have a steak bake or like, oh, but no, I can't. So unfortunately, it would be a Diet Coke. But in a fantasy world, I'd probably want a steak bake and a cheese and bean bake thing. Yeah.
Mm, that sounds brilliant. They are, I'm not trying to rub it in or anything, but they are pretty awesome. They are pretty awesome. If you could replace an instrument with a kazoo for one song, which song would it be?
Ooh, what's that song with that really, really famous saxophone in it?
What about one of your songs?
Oh, one of our songs.
Hmm.
Oh, oh, oh. So we had a song on the first album, One Inch God. It was called In, and it's got this guitar thing that people really love, but we grew to hate, unfortunately. But it sounds almost like Arabic, the guitar line for it. So that would be really funny to hear.
To change that guitar section to the
Yes,
kazoo.
definitely. I might
What's
suggest
the what's the name of the song? Because I have to check it out
it's
now.
called In, just
Called
In,
In. Right.
and it's on One Inch God, the first album.
Got a note of that.
Yes.
Check it out as soon as we're finished. Just two more. What's been the funniest mishap you've witnessed or maybe caused
Oh,
on stage?
funniest on stage. Well, I mean, it's not a mishap as such, but
Or
so
funny moment?
yeah, so like when at the end of, so there is kind of like a thing like when you've toured with a band, you tend to have like sort of end of tour pranks kind of thing. And we weren't actually, I mean, we didn't actually have anything planned for therapy, but they had something planned for us, little did we know, on the last gig. So on the last gig, every time we ended a song, the audience would be cheering, but all we could hear was booing. And they'd basically put a sample of jeering and booing through our monitors. So we
So
were
only
just,
you could hear it.
yeah, only us, we could hear it. So we were just like, what's going on? And like, and you could literally see people going, yeah. And like, all we could hear is like jeering and booing. And we're just like, and then we looked side stage and there they are obviously laughing. So we're like, oh my God, we've really got to think of something very quick to get them back. And this must have been, I think in Dublin was the last one. Yeah, Dublin. And so we had to work with what we had, which was mainly our bodies and toilet roll and gaffer tape, bit of underwear, but not much. And and we just like ran out on the stage looking like loons in our underwear. But I mean, I think it like
That'll teach therapy for next time.
yes, I think it gave him quite the shock. And I think Andy dedicated a song to us, but called us a twisted sideshow, but in the nicest possible way. So yeah, that was quite fun.
Did they see the funny side of when
Oh,
you?
absolutely. They thought it was hilarious.
Oh, that's
They
brilliant.
were actually like super impressed. Like that's the best one they'd seen.
That's actually brilliant. That's brilliant. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, um, what is your guilty pleasure song? A song that someone would never expect you to listen to.
Oh my gosh. Like I don't want to be like too guilty. It's really, I
Well, I'll
like
tell you mine just so that way
okay,
it
yeah.
helps. I'm
Yeah.
S Club 7, Reach for the Stars.
Oh, okay, that's really guilty.
Well,
Like,
we since doing Get Heavy UK, we actually use that song for a mental health standpoint.
oh,
So
yeah.
the opening lyrics for that song is "When you're feeling blue, I'll be there for
Mm,
you."
I love it. That's
And when
brilliant.
when we're live on Twitch, we've been doing Twitch now for almost 4 years, and we end every single stream for 4 years on that song.
That's cool. That's so cool. I love pop music. I'm not gonna lie, I do. Um, I'm trying to think of the guiltiest one, but then at the same time, I do want to just. It's not so guilty because I think it's cool, but I really love Shonen Knife, Japanese punk band, legendary.
Oh,
They were actually Kurt Cobain's favorite band, so that is pretty cool.
don't
But
think I've come across them
Shonen
before.
Knife, you've got to check them out. Shonen Knife are like they're been going a long, long time. They're an all-girl Japanese punk band that writes songs about just inane stuff like cats. They've got a song called Banana Chips that's literally just about banana chips. And I just love that. I think that's like I just love it. And I've like been to see them a few times and they're wicked. They're really good.
Oh, that's brilliant. If you can cover a song, just a little side, if you could cover a song, any pop song, in the style of Defend,
Oh
what would you choose?
my gosh. I'm just trying to think like what I walk around singing in the house at the moment. I did I was walking around singing Wicked songs recently because I went to see the film. I don't know if that would translate. But then maybe I really like that new song by Lola Young, is it? Messy. And she's got ADHD and she's singing about her like her mental health and her ADHD. And I like really related to that. So I was just like, I like that. That's what I'm going around singing. So maybe I'd like to give that a go, actually.
That would be pretty cool if you ever do like a new release. That'd be pretty sweet to
Yeah.
hear on a new album or anything
Yeah, because she's like,
or an EP.
yeah, because the song's like really viral at the moment. Like people are using it on TikTok and stuff on like in the background. And I checked her out and then got a bit of a backstory and I was like, oh, because I was like, I totally get what she's saying there. You know, I relate to this. So, but yeah, I think now I think that would be really cool to do
That's
that.
absolutely brilliant. Oh, hopefully down the line you might be able to get it recorded and we'll love to hear it.
Yeah.
Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. I have absolutely loved our chat. It's been great. But before we do end, is there anything that you wish to plug before we do end it?
Wow. We haven't got specific things to plug. We have got some gigs coming up in
Where can we see you
Northampton.
live?
Yeah, so Northampton at the beginning of May. I'm just looking at my calendar because
Well,
May, yeah. The 3rd of May, with Kid Bookie, which is I guess grime metal. I guess that's probably the best
not
way.
familiar with Kid Boogie, I'm not gonna lie, but
I wasn't. I'm not going to lie either, but I've checked it out, and yeah, it's going to be a very different crowd for us, so I'm quite excited about that. So there's like that's an all-day thing going on. That's in Northampton at the Black Prince, and then we have got um North Me Northants Metal. What's it called? Northants Rocks, which has got mostly Northants based bands, and Raging Speedhorn are going to be playing it, and Gutworm have reformed to play it.
ooh,
So that's going to be fun too, and that is the weekend of the Saturday the 26th is when we're playing, but it's the weekend. And hopefully we'll be getting some more gigs as coming up and coming. These are the ones that we've got in place at the moment, and we will be releasing songs bit by bit that we've been recording, so that should be something to listen out for too. Try and be active on TikTok, and like I said, that's how you do things these
What
days.
socials can we find the band at?
So currently you can find us on Instagram. I think we might be called Defenestration UK on Instagram because other bands have taken the name. I don't know why, it's a terrible name, but it's like whatever. So, and then we're on Facebook as well. And yes, we have got a link tree to other things. You can find our old stuff on Spotify and probably our new stuff when that comes out. So yeah, just kind of.
Have we got a rough release date on a new song?
Well, I think we were sort of aiming springtime, I'll say. So it'll probably be late spring. But yeah, so because we can do it ourselves, or DIY and stuff, we can like do it as and when, and that works better
No
for
pressure,
everyone.
basically. Do it in your own
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so and as I said, we've started the process. So hopefully sometime in the spring we can be looking at releasing bits and bobs, which will be fun.
And are we allowed the song name?
Oh, I don't know which one's going to be yet. So far we've got like 7 songs we've part recorded, so I'm not sure which one it will be first. But it'll be either off the second or third album, and it'll be like a reimagined version, not that imagined, but produced to the way that we want to produce it.
Excellent. Pleased to hear it. All links, of course, will be in the description of the YouTube, Spotify, and wherever there is you can get a podcast, basically. And before we do, I'll leave you with our Get Heavy creed. The rules of the pit are the rules for life. When someone falls, we pick them up.
Love that. That's brilliant.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.